My people around the world, welcome back again. I love how you keep coming back to listen to your friend Sebas, your boy Sebas. It's truly an amazing journey to be able to teach people about so many different topics. And today, just like we got controversial last week talking about how Latinos deal with their problems, now we're going to talk about everyone else. But specifically, we're going to talk about how you deal with problems on an emotional level in your relationships, in your confidence with yourself. Because let's be honest, everyone is insecure. There is not a single person on this planet that doesn't have a little bit of insecurity. It could be about absolutely anything. It could be about how you look, how you feel about yourself, how your smile is, how your parents treat you. It could be about absolutely anything. But the big thing with insecurities is acknowledging them. You can't go around acting like you don't have anything wrong with you, because we all do. But the key element of that is acknowledging what they are, but not letting that shit keep you back, not letting it hold you back. Because too many people in this society get in that loop where they find out what their insecurity is and they let it bring them down. They let it be the end all be all for any single opportunity, any single issue that they might have going forward with their life. And they let their relationships really be determined by that insecurity. So today, we're going to dive deep into what that really means. What does it mean to be insecure? How do you deal with it? How do you find solutions for it? And we're going to also connect that into your relationships with people, because insecurities do one thing for you, and that's drive your relationships to the ground, to burn. They're in the dirt now because it's not anyone else's fault but your own. We need to start taking accountability of our own issues, of our own insecurities, of our own problems. Just like I said, you have to acknowledge them. You also have to find ways to solve them. Because guess what? No one, and I say no one, is coming to save you. You have to be able to save yourself. Too often in this society, we act like there has to be someone else to help us out. There has to be someone to give us the pills. There has to be someone to come in and sit down with us and talk with us and make us feel better about ourselves. Like, for example, a therapist. But I say that's bull, because we should be able to save ourselves. We have to be able to save ourselves, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to depend on ourselves, trust our own ability. You're not going to fight your insecurities if you can't even fight yourself, fight your own temptations, fight your own demons. You have to be able to do that first before you can tackle your insecurities, because then you start growing the confidence within yourself. Then you start trusting yourself more and more and more. Say, you know what? I was able to overcome these demons. I was able to overcome these issues within my life. And now I can tackle my insecurities. And after I've tackled my insecurities, what else can I tackle? The possibilities start to become endless for you. It starts to become this everlasting spiral of events that lead you down a path that you would have never come down if you hadn't just done one simple thing, and that's trust yourself. Trust yourself that you can handle this. Now, I'm not saying you should never ask for help, because then you're just being stubborn. It's okay to ask for help, but it's not okay to depend on that help or else nothing gets done. That's what I have an issue with. You should be able to help yourself. But let's take that into a relationship aspect. Let's look at it from a relationship lens. Let's take a simple concept, looking through your partner's phone. What does that mean when you look through your partner's phone? It means that inherently you don't trust your partner. Because when you dive into a relationship with someone, there's an underlying level of trust that you have with them, or else you wouldn't be in a relationship with them. You wouldn't trust them to drive your car, come to your house, spend time with you, be intimate with you, if you didn't have some sort of confinement, of comfort with that person. But when you're looking through the phone, you're saying, I don't trust you enough to trust your word. And what does that say about how your relationship is? What does it say about the foundation of your relationship? You should maybe ask yourself those questions next time you're thinking about questioning your partner's loyalty. Because in a relationship that there's no trust, it's garbage. It's done. You shouldn't even bother spending your time with them. And again, our society encourages that kind of behavior. We see on the social medias all the time, on the TikToks, on the Instagram, on the Snapchats, hey, my partner did this toxic activity. And then everyone in the comments is hyping them up about how amazing that is. Oh my gosh, that happened to me too, sis. This occurred. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Well, guess what? Maybe if we stopped encouraging this bullshit, it wouldn't happen so much. That's really what it is. We encourage it as a society. And then that just makes the insecurities grow more and more and more. Because we start comparing ourselves to other people. We start comparing how their situation is to us. And if we look at the phone example about looking through text messages and looking through stuff like that, typically that stems from past relationships. You don't just grow that behavior from nothing. We are taught that behavior. We're taught through experience. We're taught through other people. We're taught through our parents, our friends, relatives. It doesn't matter. We learn that kind of stuff. We learn those bad habits. Now, what we have to do is learn how to unlearn those bad habits. Learn how to get past those bad habits. So let's talk about that for a second. How do you unlearn a bad habit? How do you identify what's wrong with you? How do you identify how to get past those insecurities and be more confident with yourself? Well, let's analyze one simple thing. Do you feel like you're good enough? You should ask yourself that question with anything. Do you feel like you're good enough? Good enough to walk around this planet? Good enough to work at the job that you do? Good enough to speak to people? Good enough for the relationship you have? Are you good enough? The second question you should ask yourself is, who are you? So many times we spend more time learning about other people than we truly do about ourselves. Most people don't know who they are. They don't know what they're capable of. I myself didn't know I was capable of starting this podcast until I did. I didn't know I was capable of achieving many things I did in my life until I just tried it out. And then once I started finding out what those limits were, I started seeing who I was. Because we learn about ourselves when we challenge ourselves, when we go through adversity. Not enough people go through adversity willingly anymore. You don't voluntarily say, I want to go and be uncomfortable. We are too comfortable. And comfort is what drives insecurity, 1,000%. Because then you just get too into your head. You have nothing else to think about. So you start just finding things wrong, nitpicking. And then that just starts to cause a void within you. And that confidence that maybe you had in the beginning, or maybe you've never had it, just seems more and more out of reach. So I say to people, make sure that no matter what, you start asking those questions of who you are and are you good enough? And typically, you might say, no, I'm not. I'm not good enough. Well, guess what? Instead of going to the therapist or popping pills, maybe you should be like, you know what? I'm going to make myself good enough. Too many times we get awarded participation trophies. We get awarded things as, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. No, it's not fine. Because if it was fine, there wouldn't be an issue. We need to stop rewarding the lack of initiative in people. Because at this point, we're encouraging people to settle for mediocre standards. We're telling people it's okay that you're insecure. Take these pills to forget about it. Not deal with the issue, but forget about it. Make it a void. Make it so you can't even remember what's going on with you. How does that solve anything? How does that make any sort of sense when you're trying to progress yourself, when you're trying to build yourself up? It doesn't. And if we look at that also from a relationship lens, we need to stop encouraging people to be toxic because we make fun of it too much in our society. We say it's okay to do it. Oh, you're so toxic. That's so funny. When you're toxic, that spreads to other people beyond yourself. You're teaching, again, like we said earlier, you're teaching people learn things from other people. You're teaching people to inherently be toxic with each other. Now, what could be a big cause of toxicity today? Maybe not seeing your intentions for what you really mean in a relationship, in a friendship, with someone that you just have some casual intimacy with. Setting intentions is ideal and necessary. Because if you never tell someone what you want to do, they're going to start building illusions in their own head about what is going to happen. If you don't dictate something, someone else will for you. So you should always try to be the one that dictates what's going on in any relationship that you have, whether intimate or not. Because if not, people end up getting hurt because they dictate the terms then. You don't want those terms. There's a clash eventually, and no one ends up happy. No one ends up satisfied with the result. And then again, those issues that arise from that one relationship, many people carry it to their following relationships, and it creates more problems. And it's like that relationship that fails just continues and continues and continues because that one person never dealt with their insecurities, never dealt with their issues. They just keep hopping into numerous relationships. All those people get damaged as well. And we create a cycle. Well, guess what? Break the cycle. I'm fed up with so many people acting like they have no control over their life. It's ridiculous. You have control over your insecurities. You have control over your confidence. You have control over how you treat other people. Because if you didn't, if you had no control whatsoever, then what's the alternative? What's the point of walking around life acting like you have no control over what happens to you? Yes, there are some things that are due to circumstance. I'm not saying that there isn't. I'm not saying you can control every single little thing that happens to you like Neo in the Matrix. I am telling you, though, that you can create your own reality. You can change your perception, your perspective, your perspicacity on how you see things with your insecurities. Sometimes we just don't like to admit who we are because of our ego, because of pride. We don't want to say that, you know what, I failed. I'm not good enough in this area. I'm not good enough at talking to people. I'm not good enough with my confidence. I'm not good enough with how I feel like I look. I'm just not good enough. Well, okay. That's step one, acknowledging that there is issues. Now, step two, what are you going to do about it? Not what anyone else is going to do for you, but what are you going to do about it? Start taking some accountability over your life because, like always, we're encouraged by society to forget, not to acknowledge, but forget, look past. Don't even think about it. Blind yourself with anything that you can, with sex, with money, with drugs, with anything that's materialistic that could get your mind off what's really bothering you. We don't like to deal with problems. We encourage people to not do it themselves. We don't like to be honest with their friends because we don't want to hurt their feelings. We don't want to be honest with our significant other because we feel like they might lash out, or they might divorce, or they might go out and do something reckless that's not for their own good. But there's never going to be any solution when people are quiet. Nothing will ever get resolved if people shut their mouth. And if you shut your mouth, if you sit down and tell yourself that everything is okay when it's not. So I tell you, acknowledge the insecurities, first off. Second off, what are you going to do about it? Well, I'll tell you what, if you have insecurities about how you look, go work out. Go do something about it. Go run. Go start lifting weights. Go start calisthenics. Go look up on YouTube how to do workouts if you've never done workouts before. Go try to find other people to work out with you. And if not, then just go work out by yourself. Go be uncomfortable with your body. Go challenge yourself. Because I promise you, when you're challenging yourself with that adversity, that physical pain, you'll learn. You'll become better for it. I remember the first time I truly tested my limits. It was when I was still in the U.S. Army. I was in Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and I was at this course called the Air Assault School, a school where you essentially learn how to jump out of a helicopter, descend onto the ground with some rope in case you're flying into an unknown airspace of the enemy and you want to land on a building. You can't just jump out of a plane and parachute onto a specific building. Ideally, you want to go on top of that building and rappel down on a helicopter. Or let's say you have some equipment you need to take to another location. You hook it up to a helicopter and you send it off. So essentially, that course was everything about helicopters, but it was also very physically challenging. I think in my class, we had about 33% of the class or 35% of the class fail out of everyone. And I think the biggest physical hurdle that I experienced during that course was at the end of the course, you had to run 12 miles on hilly terrain with a backpack that weighed about 40 pounds, a weapon in your hand, boots and uniform. And, on top of that, it was January when I was in Kentucky. It was 20 degrees outside. It was pouring rain. And I had 3 hours to do it. So 12 miles, 3 hours. That's 4 miles an hour with the 40 pounds on your back. And I'll tell you what, I never in a million years would have thought I was capable of that. And I was actually very scared. I was insecure about going into that final event because I just didn't think I was good enough to do it. I didn't think I would be able to succeed. I questioned myself. I questioned my own ability. And that hurt my confidence going into it. But then I realized one thing when I was probably on mile 3, that if I don't run this as fast as I can, if I don't try to run it, it doesn't matter if I'm freezing cold. It doesn't matter if it's pouring rain on me. If I don't try to run this as fast as I can, I'm going to let people down. I have my whole command back in my base in Georgia waiting on me to finish this because I was the first person in my unit in, I think, maybe half a decade or not more to go to a school like that. They paid for that school for me. So I needed to succeed. It wasn't an option anymore. And I'll tell you what, it's actually pretty funny. When you tell your mind, hey, this is what's going to happen, you just do it. It just happens all of a sudden. When you stop questioning whether you are good enough to do something and you make yourself good enough by telling yourself, I am good enough, I'm working on this, and there's no other route. There's no other way to go back. There's no other alternative. It's just going this path right now. Then your mind agrees, and your body agrees also. And you just start going forward. No questions asked. I think this mentality can apply to anybody. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete, an artist, a musician, a podcaster, or if you're dealing with a relationship with somebody. If you tell yourself, I am good enough for this, that energy reciprocates onto other people, and you do amazing things. I finished that race. I finished that final event. I never in a million years would have thought I would have been able to do it. Because when I was a little kid, I had a lot of lung problems. I was born with lung problems. I was put in intensive care for the first 10 days of my life because I had liquid in my lungs. And I'll tell you what, ever since then, I always felt like my lungs were not the same as other people's, that I had maybe weaker lungs than other people, but I never let that become an excuse for me. That's another point. We let our insecurities become excuses for us. I don't want to go and talk to that beautiful girl that's sitting at that cafe right now because I'm just not dressed good enough right now. I don't have enough money in my bank account. I didn't do my hair. We just are coming up with a bunch of ridiculous excuses to not do things. I don't want to tell my girlfriend that I think she's not doing a good enough job in our relationship because that's just going to result in an argument, and I don't have time for that. Well, I'll tell you what. If you don't have time to be honest with people, and if you don't have time to tell your significant other what they're messing up, how are they ever supposed to help you to make it better? How are they ever supposed to solve the issues that they have if you never express anything? And I'll tell you what, if they don't want to solve it, guess what then? Bounce, leave, skedaddle, get out of there. Because too many times we, again, get comfortable in situations. So we get comfortable with a person. We get comfortable with our significant other. And then we start telling ourselves, you know what? I don't want to go anywhere. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, this might not be the best thing for me. It might be unhealthy, toxic, whatever you want to say. But I'm just going to stick around because it's comfortable. Because it's nice. It's warming. Yeah, we might have a bunch of arguments, but at least the sex is good. I can't believe how many times I've heard that in my life. It's truly outstanding how funny that is. Everything else sucks, but the sex is amazing. You know what that is? That's not love. That is lust. People confuse that too many times for love. They think that, oh, I love this person so much. No, you don't. You do not love this person. This person is feeding into your own insecurities and your lack of confidence to get away from them. And they're keeping you around by being lustful with you. That is truly outstanding, I have to say. And it's also truly awful because so many people in our society do that. So many people in our society behave like that. And so many people are afraid to just say things how it is. Tell people exactly how they feel. I guarantee you that if you told your intentions to people, you would save not just a lot of time, but also a lot of resources. Because dating people costs money. Being with someone costs money, costs effort, it costs time, it costs space. You could be investing that same energy you're investing with that one person that you might be wasting your time with on either someone else or another activity that could be making you better. But instead, you're just sticking around with what's comfortable for you. You're sticking around with what's easy. Because many times in life, we choose to go down the path of least resistance. Now, I'm telling you today to switch that behavior. How about you start going down the path of most resistance? How about if everyone that you knew went down a difficult path, not the easiest, but a difficult one, and not a stupid one either, a good one, a path that was beneficial, but challenging for them in mind, body, soul, and spirit. Would they not become a better person for it? Would they not be better overall for that activity, for that decision, for that choice that they made? I think too many people, including myself, never truly see what they're capable of until they just believe that they could do it. It stems back to what I said earlier in the podcast about acknowledging what's wrong and making yourself good enough. I think so many people have died never truly knowing what they're capable of. You know what my biggest fear is in life? My biggest fear is that I'm going to die one day. And when I die, I'm going to see my Creator. And I'm going to face God. And God will tell me, Sebastian, this is everything that I had planned for your life. This is everything I saw for you. This is everything I wanted to gift you. But this is what you did instead. And everything that he shows me is nothing that compared to what I did. That terrifies me. Because I know that I'm capable of so much more. And I'm going for it. I'm not one of those people that's going to tell you to do something and I'm not going to do it myself. I learned this lesson in the army. A real leader is someone that leads from the front. It's someone that does something first and never expects their subordinates to do something that they're not willing to do themselves. So I'm telling you this as someone who's going through it right now. You are capable of so much more. You can't even imagine what you're capable of. And millions of people's lives, not just a couple thousands, a couple 100,000s, millions of people's lives can truly be changed for you going down a specific path. But none of that's going to happen unless you do the first thing that I told you, which is acknowledge that there's issues within you. Overcome those insecurities and be confident with yourself. Let's say you have insecurities from an emotional standpoint. You've been hurt by somebody. Someone has cheated on you. Someone has betrayed you. Maybe you have an abusive mother, abusive father, abusive spouse. You just have people that have done you disgusting, that have truly harmed you physically, emotionally, spiritually, most importantly, mentally. The first thing you have to do to overcome those insecurities, those issues you've acquired, is forgive that person that harmed you or that group of people, forgive them. Because if you don't forgive them, you're going to come into future relationships with people and you're going to treat them the same exact way as you treated your past relationship. Or you're going to behave with certain people in a certain way because they remind you of someone from your past that harmed you. But what if you forgave them? What if you told yourself, I'm not going to allow what this person did to me or these people did to me to affect me any longer? It's not saying that what they did is justified. It's not saying that what they did to you is okay. It's saying I'm not going to allow what this person did to me to affect me anymore. I'm not going to let it affect my future, how I am with people, how I behave around people that care about me, either present or in the future. I'm not going to allow that anymore. I'm not going to carry the baggage I had from this person and dump it on anybody else, because it's my responsibility to ensure that doesn't happen. Again, accountability. Have accountability for those actions. It's not anyone else's responsibility to ensure that baggage isn't dumped on anyone but yourself. It's not anyone's responsibility to go and make sure you get up in the morning to go work out, or get off your long shift at work and go work out. It's not anyone's responsibility to ensure you get anywhere in life except yourself. So you could do all these amazing things that I'm telling you about. So you can change the lives of so many people. And you can inspire them to make the same exact changes that you made for yourself. Because you're right. Sometimes it's not as easy as it sounds. Sometimes people talk, but actions are harder to perform. We could have so many great ideas, but the execution could be poor. It could be despicable. Instead of wondering what could go wrong, why don't you focus on what can go right? Focusing on what is controllable to you. There are circumstances that are against you. Nothing will always be perfect. You might get a couple curveballs thrown at you in life, stuff that's unexpected. But the greatest people in the history of the world are not the people that never had any issues. They're the people that knew how to handle their issues, how to overcome their adversities, their challenges, their demons, and keep going forward. Keep putting one foot in front of the other. And with your relationships, the people that last the longest and truly live by the statement that death do us part are not the people that have the perfect relationship, that never argue, that never have any issues. They're the people that know how to manage those issues, how to respect each other, and respect the decisions that you do and take on. I'll tell you what, I think the best marriages are the ones that follow traditional gender roles, 1,000%. Because we live in a society that has castrated that idea, that gender roles are a good thing, that a man is a provider of the house, and the woman takes care of the house, takes care of the children, takes care of the man, and takes care of everything else that the man doesn't take care of. The man's main responsibility in any relationship is to provide for their significant other, provide for the person that they care about. I'm saying this as a guy who never had his father. My father was never there to take care of me and my sister. My father was never there to be a good husband for my mother. My father was never there to support me on anything that I did. And I say that as someone who experienced how much of a void that creates in you. To not have that authoritative masculine figure to guide me, to guide my sister, or to guide my family. I had to take on that role when I was a young little kid. And up to now, I still take on that role. And people make it seem like taking on that role is a bad thing. Because maybe they're just insecure, you know. Maybe they just don't have the confidence to do the things that they they think they can. But ladies, let's be honest. You don't want to be with a man who can't even take care of himself. You want to be with a man that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel secure, that makes you feel like no matter what happens, he's going to stick by your side through thick and thin. That doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what happens. He's going to stick by you. It doesn't matter if someone walks up on you and tries to steal your purse. He's going to protect you. He's not going to let anything happen to you. Another thing that happens with the conversation of gender roles is that terms like toxic masculinity start being thrown out at people. You're not going to tell a man he's toxically masculine if he protects you from getting mugged. You're not going to tell a man that he's toxically masculine if he does what he's supposed to do. If he goes in and makes sure that the kids are provided for. If he makes sure that no one comes to the house to harm anybody. If he makes sure the bills are paid on time. If he makes sure that his family never in his life has to go a meal without anything on the table. This whole idea about toxic masculinity and that gender roles are ridiculous is a first world issue. And it's a first world issue by a bunch of people that are too insecure within themselves to do what they have to do, to say and do what they're supposed to do. It's ridiculous. We've made people feel like it's okay to be mediocre, to not perform to where they have to perform, where they should perform, to not put standards on anyone, to not put expectations on anyone. Why? That's the big question you have to ask yourself. Why do we live in a society that encourages mediocrity within its people? And who are the ones that are even determining all this stuff? Insecure ass people. People that wouldn't even be as confident to go out and say what they truly feel to the world. They say it on a social media app where they have 1,000 little followers that support them. But would they say it to anyone's face? Would they say it in public to anyone? Would they sit behind a mic and broadcast their thoughts to an entire stream of people all over the world, not knowing where their words might go? Those are the kinds of questions you have to ask yourself. Who are you looking at that is challenging you and is telling you that you're not good enough? Who are you looking at that's judging you? Who are these people? Who are these people to tell you how you can and cannot live your life? Who am I? I'm nobody. But I'm going to be somebody one day. That's the big thing you should tell. I might not be someone important today, but I am going to be someone important tomorrow. If everyone had that mindset, just imagine where the world would be. Just imagine where the world would be if we as people thought to ourselves, again, I'm not good enough today, but I will be. I am going to make myself good enough. I'm going to help this person make themselves good enough. And I could change an entire place, an entire region, an entire city. I could do all these amazing things because I believe I could do it. Because I have that confidence within myself that I can make this happen. Always ask yourself, who are you? Are you good enough? Are you going to make yourself good enough? What are you going to do about your current situation? Is it reasonable to ask for help right now? But most importantly, above all things, know that you can Do it. You can make it happen. You can save your relationship. And if you can't, you will find someone that's better for you. You can achieve that position at your job. You can live those goals that you want to have for yourself. You can do all these amazing things because that little voice in your head that tells you that you're not good enough, fuck them. Fuck that little voice. Because you will never be that little voice. I'll tell you what that voice is. That's the devil. That's the devil trying to make you doubt yourself. Never listen to that little voice that tells you that you're not good enough for anything. But listen to your gut when it tells you to trust yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Trust yourself and make sure that every decision that you take is the best one for you. I thank you again for coming onto this beautiful platform and sitting down and listening to what you need to hear. Because again, this society doesn't encourage that. But here on this platform, we do. So thank you again to everyone for coming on. The Instagram page is finally up, by the way, at the Sebas Perspective on Instagram and on the TikTok. Go follow it. Go leave me a couple of sexy reviews so more people can hear the message and learn. God bless every single one of you.